TOS system test. Okay. TOS system test. Okay.
So we've got beacon lights turned on to let everybody know around that the engine is going to start. Got navigation lights on the wings which show the port and starboard side. Put our taxi lights on as well. And then what we do is we need fuel in the engine, so we set the mixture to rich, and then we use the fuel pump to get that fuel in the engine for a few seconds. And then we set the mixture to just above lean. Magnetos set to both left and right sides, and then we put our feet on the brakes when we start the engine, and then we set the mixture to rich. So after the engine is started, we turn our avionics on so we can see on this screen the status of the engine. Just for 1000 RPM, make sure that the oil pressure is in the green and everything is working as intended. And now that the engine's running and the batteries are online, the low volts annunciator is turned off, so we know that the battery's okay, and we'll make sure that our flaps are up before we take off, which they are. So we've got the taxi light on so we can see in front and people around us know that we're taxiing, and then in a second we'll get clearance from the tower to take off and taxi to the runway at Doncaster. So we keep the landing lights and the strobe lights off when we're not taking off or in the air because they're too bright and will blind people. Everything else is ready, so we can turn the parking brake off before we move. Check the ailerons, the elevators at the back, and the rudder. So now we tune our radio. So we've got on radio 1, if we switch frequencies, we've got a main and a backup. We'll have one for ground control and one for tower, and on nav 2 we'll have ATIS, which gives us the weather information.
Echo Golf Charlie November Airport information, Sierra 2000 Zulu. Wind 290 at 19er. Visibility 9er. Sky condition clear. Temperature 20. Dew point 1 tree. Altimeter tree 0.45. ILS Yankee runway 02 in use. Landing and departing runway 20. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact you have Sierra.
So now we know the weather information, we've set our altimeter, so it matches the barometric pressure of the air outside to show what altitude we're actually at. And now we can get clearance from the tower to depart to the west.
Ground Mallard Tree 8 with Sierra request taxi for takeoff west departure.
Mallard Tree 8 taxi 2 and hold short of runway 20. Contact tower on 128.775 when ready.
Taxiing hold short runway 20 Mallard Tree 8.
So runway 20 faces south because 20 indicates that the heading of the runway is 200 degrees. And now we'll taxi and hold short of that runway and do a few more checks before we take off. So to steer the aircraft, we use our feet for the rudder pedals, and we can either turn the front wheel by actually moving the rudder, which turns the wheel, or we can use our toe brakes, which actually brake the left and right main wheels. So if we were to brake the left wheel, of course we turn to the left. So this is the passenger terminal at Doncaster, although it's not modelled exactly as it is in real life. All the taxiways and everything are the same. So we can check left and right before we cross this taxiway, making sure everything's clear. And because we know we don't need all 9,400 feet of the runway, we can join about a quarter of the way down. So now we can see we've got runway 20, which faces that direction, which will be heading 200, and 180 degrees the other way is runway 02, which faces a heading of 020. Now, before we take off, we'll just turn our aircraft into the wind before we turn out onto the runway. Do a few more checks before we move. So we set the parking brake, make sure all the seats and everything are secure, double check our flight controls, so the ailerons, the elevators and the rudder. Check all our flight instruments, make sure everything's as it should be. We'll double check on ATIS for the barometer pressure.
Takeoff off Charlie November Airport information, Sierra 2000 Zulu. Wind 290 at 19er. Visibility 9er. Sky condition clear. Temperature 20. Dew point 1 tree. Altimeter tree 0.45.
So the altimeter is 30.45, which matches up, and now we can do a quick run up of the engine, make sure that everything is going to work when we take off. Double check that the autopilot system is working, and we can of course override that if we need to, and that'll give us an error showing that we've overridden it, which we need to in case of emergency. Flight controls, we can go against autopilot, turn autopilot off, make sure the flight director is off, elevator trim set for takeoff again, so there we've got it just above the middle. And when we set our throttle for our engine, we want to hit 1800 RPM. So what we'll do now is, with the engine magnetos that control the spark plugs, we'll switch from both to just left and then just right, and we want to make sure that the RPM doesn't drop below 150. So we're good there, it's only dropped 120, and then again there's no difference between them both. We make sure that we're running on both sides now, and we're back to as we were. Check everything else on here, make sure all these are in the green. We've got no warnings displayed, and we idle our engine. Want to make sure we're at 600 to 650 RPM, which is good, and then again set to 1000 before we taxi out onto the runway.
Tower Mallard Tree 8 at runway 20 ready for departure west departure.
Mallard Tree 8 altimeter tree 0.45, wind 290 at 19er. Departure to the west approved. Cleared for takeoff runway 20.
Cleared for takeoff runway 20 Mallard Tree 8.
So now we'll put our landing lights on because we've entered the runway. Double check again both sides, nothing's landing or taxiing. So we're clear to taxi out and hold on the centre line. I'll just brake here a second. So our comm frequencies are set because we've already tuned to the tower. We don't need nav frequencies because we're not using any navigational aids. We're flying purely by sight. We've got our flight plan loaded in, and again we don't need nav source. Flaps, we'll set those down for takeoff to give us more lift. Everything else is locked and ready, and our parking brake is released. So again, our mixture is rich to give the fuel, to give the engine enough fuel, and everything else is working. So we'll set our throttle to full with our feet on the brakes before we then release and take off. Now we'll rotate about 55 knots, bring the nose just off the runway, and make sure that we're heading into the wind and everything is as we want it to be. Load up our map now. Now we can see we want to be heading over to the right.
Mallard Tree 8, continue for west departure.
Tower Mallard Tree 8, continue for west departure.
So at the minute we are heading south. And once we've reached a stable speed, we can bring the flaps up. So that reduces our drag. Also reduces the lift, but the speed is what we need now that we're in the air. So because we're flying via VFR, we simply look out for landmarks and things that will help us navigate to where we want to go. So at the minute, once we've got to a steady cruise, we'll make sure that we've trimmed the aircraft out so we don't have to constantly input on the stick or the yoke. And now we'll look for the landmarks that will help us navigate. So down there is Portry paintball fields. Just on the right. And there's the East Coast Main Line, which goes through Rossington, up past Lakeside. You can just see the lake over there, and Doncaster Football Stadium. I'll turn right again to make sure that we're on course for our flight.
Mallard Tree 8, leaving my airspace, frequency change approved.
Tower Mallard Tree 8, frequency change. Approach Mallard Tree 8 is type Cessna Skyhawk 4 miles west of Echo Golf, Charlie November 2,500 feet. Request flight following.
Mallard Tree 8 approach. Squawk 046 tree.
Squawk 046 tree Mallard Tree 8.
So the squawk code
Mallard
is
Tree 8 radar contact 4 miles west of Echo Golf, Charlie November 2,700 feet. Altimeter tree 0.45.
Roger Mallard Tree 8.
So the squawk code is a unique identifier given to us by the tower, so they know which flight is which, and then we can pass that over. If we lost radio communication, we can set a unique squawk code for 7000 or 7700, which would show that either our radios have failed or we've got a general emergency on board. and that way they can help us land without having to navigate, using radio communication. Now there you can see where the M18 meets the A1, and we've got Lakeside just here, and that's just where I work. So if I move over to the right, look out the window, there you can see Lakeside with my work just there, football stadium, and they've got the main freight yard and Doncaster station up there, with French Gate and the prison on the left. So you can see our flight plan on the left there. Now we're going to turn south and head over Wickersley. So if we drop down a few thousand feet, we'll reduce the throttle because we don't need to speed up, because gravity will do that for us. So now we'll turn. We usually try and bank at less than 30 degrees. And when we turn, we not only turn left using the ailerons, but we also use a little bit of rudder to help make sure that we actually fall into the turn, if you like. So in a minute we'll fly over a radio beacon, which will be titled Mammal. You can see it just there appearing on the flight plan, and that is right over the Wickersley Church, or the old social club. So there you can see on the right, here we've got Hellaby Industrial Estate, and down there we've got where the M18 and the M1 meet with the wind turbines, and then if we follow this main road up, that's Wickersley up there. And you've got the Hotel Morrison's and the gym, etc. on the left here.
52 and hashtag 93. Tree 40 tree, you are 8 miles south of Echo Golf Charlie November. Contact tower on 128.775 when inbound.
I'll wait for them to acknowledge.
Tower on 128.775, Toy Air, and hashtag 9152 and hashtag 93, tree 40 tree.
So that's a real life TUI flight that's landing at Doncaster now, that's appeared on here. I'm sure if we looked on the real flight radar at the minute we'd see it. So if we look here, we'll be going over Wickersley School in a minute, which you can see the big field of just there, and then the school buildings, which are just generic models at the minute in front. And then you'll be able to see the roundabout a bit more clear once we line up with Northfield Lane. You see Northfield Lane Primary School over there with the field behind it, we turn now. Make sure that our speed's high enough so that we're not going to stall and crash.
500.
So there are a few trees in the way. We can just see the big group of trees there, that's Wickersley Roundabout. And although these buildings are generic models, you can tell that that hotel is what's meant to be the Woodman. Then you've got Wickersley Cricket Club here. And then on the right here, we've got Harvest Road. And then if we keep going, we might see Minnie in the garden. Just down there. Now we might deviate from the flight plan just a little bit to head over Rotherham itself. And here's the lake at the old pit. Used to be Silverwood Mine, I think. And here are the lanes that go down with Dalton and Thriber on the right. So we go down the lanes, come out of Dalton there. Somewhere there'll be the mushroom roundabout with Asda, and you can just see Eastwood on the left. So that looks like the roundabout with what would be Asda and the steelworks behind. And now if we carry on this side, we'll see Bawtry Road, which is just here. And we're going over the Brecks there. So the petrol station will be that big house thing there.
500.
And on the left will be the M1. So we'll be going over Canklow in a bit. That road goes down to Treeton off Bawtry Road, and we might as well fly over the old Sheffield City airport, which has been added back in on here. I downloaded a separate add-on to add the airport back in, although now it's where they build parts for Boeing with AMRC. So there you've got the parkway in the M1. Looks like Brinsworth down here. I think. And then the old Sheffield City Airport. Just here. This is Tinsley Yard on the left, and that big crater, the hotel, just there. And now we're going over the airport with the steelworks on the right. Although now the parking for the airport, there's a car park for small commercial businesses, and even the police helicopters now move to Doncaster. So we'll go for a little flight this way, and we should see Meadowhall on the left. Yep. So we're going over the M1 again, and Meadowhall there. There's bubble tea in there. So this looks to be the waste treatment thing on the way into Sheffield, I think. Oh, actually no, this is going over Rotherham again. So this is going over the old football stadium here. Just there, and there's Masborough railway station. Down there. If we turn left again and circle around.
500.
We should see. There we are. This is CF Booth Scrapyard with the current New York Stadium. And Rotherham Station there. Rotherham Council buildings. And now we'll put full throttle to get away from Rotherham. So that looks like the market with Big Tesco. There's Eastwood and Parkgate underneath us now. There's Gate Park, and we're going over Romarsh. And we'll fly back to get on course with our original flight plan. So that's Romarsh. And now we'll head towards, I think, Barnsley. Whatherpondern, this direction. So I think that is the industrial estate at Wath. Have a look underneath, see what else we can see. So we've just gone over Swinton Station behind us, to the left of the tail. So we're now following the Midland Main Line. This train line takes us to Leeds. that direction. So Swinton is on the left. That's Racecourse Road to the left of the wingtip. Now we're flying over Wath with Wath School in front. So that's Racecourse Road down there. And then we've got in front Wath School just here. There's the Tesco and Wath Lake. Now Nostell is over that way where they've got the air ambulance. So not too far. Now we'll turn left. You can see Tesco again, just there. Well, it might be... oh no, Tesco's just there. The big car park. So we do have the aircraft trimmed, so we don't have to keep holding to pitch the nose up. And we'll see if we can see where we're going. Don't think there's anywhere that I recognise just yet. If we get this up, we'll see. Actually, if we go into settings, we can show. There we go, now we can see what we're looking at. Swathe. What's this? Worsborough. Is that Worsborough Dam? So there's Hoyland over there. Elsica. I'll have to turn them off because it's making it slow. Not sure what stadium that is. Barnsley FC. Keeps it simple. So you can see why we have landing lights and taxi lights when we're landing, so the tower can easily spot us. And over there would be the airfield that we'd land at, and that would be the approach. But instead I think we'll head back to Sheffield City Airport. Now because this one doesn't have a tower in game, it does but it's not modelled for air traffic control, we have to let other aircraft know where we are and what we're doing. So we tune into the traffic frequency just to keep everyone updated. So I think we'll land on runway 28 because that would match the approach that we come in at, and we'll let them know that we're all landing full stop. Just tell everyone where we are.
Golf Sierra Echo traffic mallard tree 810 miles northwest 3,200 feet inbound to land runway 28.
So here we've got a bit of a visual guidance for how we approach the traffic pattern for the airport. So there's a standard set of directions, if you like, that we have to follow when we're landing, and to circle the airport first. We'll see if the approach to runway 10 would be any better.
Echo Golf Sierra Echo traffic Mallard Tree 88 miles northwest 3,700 feet inbound to land runway 10.
So if we zoom in, you can just see the runway lights there. And it's getting a little bit hazy. This is real world weather, so if we were actually flying outside now, this is what it would look like. So let's see what we can recognise. Rotherham Stadium down there, and the Tower Flats near Clifton Park. So if we were to come out of Rotherham, we'd go past the treatment works. Always have the biomass plant. Go along the new road to Meadow Hall, which should be, if we go forwards, just down there. Yep, so now we're coming south on the M1. The M1's this road just to the left. So there's the viaduct with the new sewage treatment thing just down there. That's where the cooling towers would be. Now we'll focus on entering this traffic pattern. So before we land, get our landing lights on so we're more visible. We can see the runway better when we get close. Meadow Hall again, and there should be the arena somewhere. Let's have a look. Can't quite make it out. Oh, there we go. There's Sheffield Arena there. It's entertainment on the left. And that would be the cinema just there. So now we're entering this traffic pattern. We'll fly straight over the runway. Which is actually safer, because when you're right above the runway, you're not going to have anything taking off or landing where you are, because everything is going to be at either side of the runway. So now we're descending to land. We'll use gravity for all our speed. And although we're a bit high, just do a quick loop to drop down to the correct altitude because we're also too fast at the minute. There again is lost the arena somewhere down there. So just do a quick right hand loop to descend a bit. You can see our altitude on the right there on the primary flight display and our speed on the left. So now we can see pattern entry, and because this is still a simulator, you can also have things like visual guides if you don't yet know the specifics of which runway you're landing at. Although once I've got the hang of entering a traffic pattern, you can try with this turned off. So we're going 85 knots, which is too fast to land. Landing speed in this is about 40 knots. So gust there. I think I might have caught the elevator trim. Yeah, I caught the trim with my thumb. Yep, again, call that. It's in the middle now. So we'll drop our flaps to 10 degrees, it gives a bit more lift and helps slow us down. I want to stay about 65 knots on the approach, and then drop to 40 on finals. Drop our flaps again so we get more lift, also more drag to slow us down. Now we'll drop flaps full, ready for when we land.
Echo Golf Sierra Echo Traffic Mallard Tree 8 is on crosswind runway 28.
$500. 500.
Echo Golf Sierra Echo Traffic
So
Mallard Tree 8 is
let
on
everyone
final
know that
runway
we're
28 to
coming
land.
into land. And the white and red indicators on the left of the runway are known as PAPI lights. They are precision approach position lights, which shows if we're too high, too low, or a little bit of either. So we want 2 white and 2 red, which shows we're correct for the 3 degrees glide slope. More red means we're too low, more white means we're too high. Now we want to land below 50 knots, so we'll keep our speed just above for now. Make sure we're trimming the aircraft. Again, the M1 below us with Tinsley Yard on the right. Now we're landing into the wind. Now we can cut our throttle. And we want to land before those 2 big squares down the runway. So make sure our rudder's keeping us into the wind so we don't blow off the runway. And bring her gently down. Use our toe brakes to slow down. And bring our flaps up. Taxi lights on. And then if we look out to the right, this is where we're going to taxi and then park. So we'll turn our strobe lights off and our landing lights off so we don't blind anyone, and then taxi up and park. None of these planes would be here in real life, especially not the big airliners. But I've set my traffic density to full, so there'll be planes everywhere. Now there's a bus and a van in the last 2 spots. But if we brake gently, we can park up just behind the van. Let's make sure we can try and get onto the line. There we go. So we'll set the parking brake, turn the taxi lights off, make sure the beacon is still on. And then we'll pull the mixture so we've got no more fuel going into the engine. And then the engine is off. And then shut everything down. Make sure that we keep the nav and the beacon lights on for when we turn the engine back on. We can turn the avionics off. and then make sure the batteries are off as well. And that's it. Landed at Sheffield.